Welcome to another video, and in today's video we're back with another Smackdown review. Surprisingly, they're off to a really good start with Smackdown this year, and it is no different this week because we do have the world title match between Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. But what are your thoughts at Smackdown as a whole tonight?
Yeah, it's definitely been improving so far in 2026. It's definitely what I like to see from WWE. Obviously, still not perfect. I think there's still some flaws with it being 3 hours. There's definitely more time to be filled. So we'll kind of see how they do that.
And we're going to kick things off with Drew McIntyre defeating Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. And we've seen Drew McIntyre defeat Cody Rhodes in a singles match, losing to him in a Falls Count Anywhere match, then finishing up the 3 Stages of Hell match with a win in a steel cage. But we start things off in a normal singles match, and I feel like this first match was a little bit short, but it does come to an end after a low blow and a claymore from Drew McIntyre to get the first win. And the only thing on my mind after this match was that if he chose for it to be a singles match, he would have won it already and he would have been a world champion after the first match, but he did choose this stipulation. But we do go to the second match now, and that is the Falls Count Anywhere, and we see Cody Rhodes pick up the win this time after a Cody splash from the balcony near where the fans sit. And we also see Drew McIntyre kick out of that, which is probably the craziest part of that second match in the Falls Count Anywhere. But we do see Cody pick up the win after a crossroads through the table, where we see Cody Rhodes land on him pretty hard. He kind of lands hip first right on the Drew McIntyre's face, and it was a pretty nasty blow to land on. And then to finish things off with the third match of the 3 Stages of Hell, it is the steel cage match. And the way people talk about this match will kind of reflect on how you feel about the finish of this match, and that's because we see Jacob Fatu in all black. Just as Drew is about to escape, he comes in, kind of knocks Drew away from the fence, but then we also see him attack Cody Rhodes, which then leads Drew McIntyre to pretty much get the win because of Jacob Fatu. But what are your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, obviously, if you've been following along, I've been predicting I wanted Drew McIntyre to win championship going in 2026, and he has achieved just that. But I hate to be that guy, but I still don't like that how he got there. And yeah, obviously, like I said, I want him to win. The way he wins is a little bit interesting. Obviously, like I said, I wanted a clean, determined win to kind of stamp that Drew McIntyre's here. He's at the top of his game now. He's a world champion, and it's gonna look very dangerous for the rest of the year for everybody else that Drew McIntyre gets to come across. So yeah, I would have wanted a little bit more of a, like I said, a statement win from Drew, but we didn't get that. Overall, this match is still a really fun one. I think they have a lot of funny moments and a lot of just highlights from this match that I think a lot of people will be very surprised from, especially on a Raw or a Smackdown match. Obviously, TV match, you don't get some crazy spots sometimes, but this one provided that. Like you said, we've seen the dive off the balcony, which is a very funny clip. I'm sure you guys will have seen on Twitter. But yeah, everything through this match has been pretty fun. I'm, like I said, glad that Jacob Fatu's back. I think that adds a new character at the top of SmackDown to kind of change things up a little bit. Obviously, he's been very Cody dominant, obviously being the world champion. Drew now obviously there with the feud. Randy's going to be there. So yeah, I like how it's kind of going. Don't know how to feel about the Jacob Fatu kind of interfering. Don't know where that's going to lead. Obviously, who knows what story will be told. But at least it has a lot of questions for the upcoming weeks.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite match of the year. The only like in-ring wise match that's kind of in comparison with this one is probably the Suji and Takeshita match that we've seen at Wrestle Kingdom. But I probably would give the edge to this one just because of the whole storyline, and I've been a part of it, being able to watch it the whole time. I haven't really kept up with theirs, of course. But we do see a lot of "Let's go Cody, Cody sucks" chants from the crowd, so that's I guess a positive sign, because it's showing that the crowd really cares about Drew McIntyre. They want to get behind him. Potential face turn to come soon, maybe, and then Cody Rhodes maybe a heel turn soon as well. And then we also seen probably the coolest crossroads we've ever seen after Drew McIntyre goes for a sidewalk slam, but then Cody Rhodes kind of reverses it, kind of Hurricane Rana, but he lands into a crossroads position, does that to Drew McIntyre. And I guess the big positive about all of this as well is that we don't know who is going to win the Royal Rumble. We don't know who is going to be our next champion. We don't know who Cody's going to feud with next. We don't know if he's going to win the Royal Rumble, if he's going to win the Elimination Chamber. There's a whole lot of different directions they could go this way. And then, as you said, the only negative is kind of just the way that he won it. We'd have liked to seen a big celebration at the end, you know, him holding up the world title with the pyro behind him and all that sort of stuff. But I feel like this kind of plays into the story of Drew McIntyre, because he did want to win the world title in front of a crowd and have that big celebration, but he didn't get it. He didn't get the pyro. So I'll be very curious to see what his promo will be like on SmackDown, if he'll be celebrating real hard or if he'll not be satisfied with how he won that.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting ride on this Drew McIntyre reign because it could end as soon as Royal Rumble now. It could end at WrestleMania, so who knows how long we'll have of this championship reign from Drew, which is going to make for a very interesting few weeks, obviously, when things happen. Because, yeah, at Royal Rumble, he will have an opponent. We know that now. And, yeah, going into Mania, if he is still champion, obviously he's a guy who's going to be at the top because he's a world champion, but will he even get a main event? Will WWE trust him enough to kind of put him in that spotlight? I am interested. I hope he gets kind of everything he's been hoping for with a title run. And yeah, love Drew. Glad he gets the win. Don't like the way it came about, but overall, happy for him.
And now that we do know Drew is our world champion, we can talk about the number one contender tournament that they did announce tonight. And that will be the winner of each match will have a fatal four-way match to determine the number one contender at Saturday night's main event. And then the winner of that match will face Drew McIntyre at the Royal Rumble for the WWE Championship. And the matches that we have to qualify for that are Randy Orton versus The Miz, Damian Priest versus Solo Sikoa, Matt Cardona versus Trick Williams, and Sami Zayn versus Ilya Dragunov. So what are your thoughts on this tournament?
Yeah, it's a very interesting one. It kind of shows you where WWE is kind of saying who is the top guys of SmackDown right now. I love that Trick Williams is in that conversation. I love that Sami and Ilya are also there. But yeah, I think it's going to be some interesting matches. I think, kind of give a quick predictions. I think Randy's obviously going to win that match versus The Miz. That should be an easy one. The Damian and Solo one could go 50-50. I'm going to go with Damian just because it feels like coming off the back of this Aleister feud. It makes sense for him to keep going. Cardona and Trick is a weird one just because it's two new guys to the brand. So who knows who walks out on top? I guess they might go. I would hope for Trick just to kind of build the momentum up. I think he's a guy who should be a United States champion, if not a world champion maybe, by the end of the year. But then also Sami Ilya, that's the match to look out for. The last match was amazing. This match I expect even better. I'm going to go Sami just because I think he's a chance to actually win the world champion, go all the way and beat Drew at Royal Rumble. I think that's where it's probably going to lead up to. But I think Randy Orton going after Drew, getting vengeance for Cody just to win it, and then fight Cody for it just to just beat his ass too. I think it would be a cool story. So yeah, there's a lot of ways you can go with it, but I think my pick will be Sami Zayn to take it home.
Yeah, I pretty much have literally every single pick that you have. I pretty much think the exact same thing. The only one is Matt Cardona, Trick Williams. As you mentioned, that could kind of go either way because Matt Cardona did approach Cody Rhodes backstage and mentioned that he was going to go after that world title if he were to retain versus Drew McIntyre. Obviously, it didn't go that way, and Drew McIntyre won. So it'll be interesting to see how their next interaction will be backstage after that. But we did kick this show off with Randy Orton and Trick Williams going face-to-face after Trick Williams interrupted Randy Orton during a promo, and he told him that it is not 2006, it is 2026, and he needs to leave the ring. But, of course, Randy Orton would eventually RKO him right before his match with Rey Fenix. But what are your thoughts on that segment?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I love that Trick Williams is being showcased very well. He's being around the top guys. He came in a little bit cocky to Randy, and he kind of said that, look, I'm a new guy around here. I'm going to be at the top for in a very short amount of time. You're at your later part of the days. But in the end, he kind of showed that respect a little bit to Randy, but Randy got the last laugh with the RKO. So yeah, I love that. Like I said, Trick Williams is at the top. Hopefully he does get some type of reward for it. I think the work he's did in NXT over the past few months, winning, going to TNA as well, doing work there. I think he deserves something. I think a big match at Mania should be something that is up for him. Maybe whether that's for the United States champion or just a big showcase match, I wouldn't mind. But yeah, like I said, I really love the showcasing of Trick Williams right now.
Yeah, and another big talking point of this night is going to be Jordynne Grace officially signing with the SmackDown roster, and then she has a match with Alba Fire. But we're not going to talk about that too much because we will talk about what happened after the match, and that is the fact that she went face to face with Jade Cargill after, and she did cut a promo. I kind of forget what she said, to be honest. I'm pretty sure she basically just said, "I'm that bitch," and just sort of walked out after that. But yeah, they did tease a match between the two, and that's really good for Jordynne Grace, of course, because she just got called up right after her first match. The WWE World Champion is approaching her and basically calling her out for a match.
Yeah, last week we got the tease of the first face-off between these two, and it looks like we're continuing that path, so that's why I love, it's like I mentioned earlier in the video that we got kind of a part 2 of last week. Yeah, I love that Jordynne Grace is on SmackDown. I think she's very needed there and will fit very well. I think there's a lot of good matches you can have with her, especially when Bianca Belair comes back. I think that's probably the best match you can run on SmackDown right now. But yeah, I love that Jordan's going to be at the top. I don't know if she'll win in that first match between the two. It feels like Jade will probably get the win just because she still hasn't done much with the belt, so who knows how that will go. But yeah, I love that Jordynne Grace, similar to Trick, is being showcased at the top of the game.
Yeah, and last but not least for today's video, we have Carmelo Hayes Open Challenge, where we see Nathan Frazier and Axiom backstage about to go out to see who will get to the ring first, but out of nowhere, Axiom attacks Nathan Frazier, only to reveal it was Johnny Gargano who was in the stolen Axiom match, which pretty much gave everyone a heart attack thinking, oh god, did Axiom just turn heel? But no, it was Johnny Gargano kind of setting him up, but that did lead to Shinsuke Nakamura revealed as the person who did accept the Open Challenge, and this was probably one of the best Shinsuke Nakamura matches we've seen in some time, and maybe even one of the best Melo matches we've seen in some time, because I absolutely love this match. The way that it started with the massive pop from Shinsuke Nakamura on his entrance, and the way he worked the lower body of Carmelo Hayes throughout the entire match, and the way Carmelo Hayes sold everything that Shinsuke was given throughout the entire match was amazing. But we do get to the finish where we see Shinsuke Nakamura go for a Kinshasa from the top rope, but then follow up with a second one. However, that second one would get reversed into a first 48 by Carmelo, and then hit the nothing but net to retain the United States Championship.
Yeah, I love the Open Challenge being continued. Love that Shinsuke is kind of being back on this like kind of mid-card type of level. He's a guy who I think deserves some type of last run or some type of push before, you know, he does kind of slow down even more than what he is right now. But yeah, I think Shinsuke has definitely been improving over the last few matches. I believe he had a match with either Ilya or Sammy during one of their Open Challenge reigns. But yeah, I love that Carmelo's continuing and he's been improving even more than he has last year. And he's somebody who I think is going to have a big year this year. Obviously, starting off with the United States Championship to be a big help in that. But yeah, I think he's going to have a very good reign with this. Hopefully, it continues all the way up until WrestleMania, more than likely, where I think he could have some big match with a Trick Williams potentially. And I think that would have like a good story going into it. Obviously, they're history from NXT, but now with another championship on the line, that being the U.S. this title, I think will make for a huge moment for the two and give them a big WrestleMania moment that I'm sure they both would love for.
Yeah, that'd be amazing, of course, and that's what we needed in SmackDown, because this definitely felt like a big SmackDown. Of course, it's gonna get added a lot to it when there's a 3 Stages of Hell world title match with it, but also everything else on the card just felt nice. It felt appropriate, being the climate that we're in the WWE, and things are on the uptick right now, and we're getting into that WrestleMania swing of things. Everyone's getting more and more excited as time goes on. Royal Rumble's right around the corner, hopefully, unless they don't finish the stadium. But there's a lot of good stuff going on, and this was a really good SmackDown to kind of showcase the roster and add these new people to the roster and showcase them in a very good way, especially with Jordan Grace going face to face with the world champion.
Yeah, I love that. Like I said, that we're getting more faces that are being shown more predominantly now, because Trick Williams and Jordan, I think, will be some great additions and will probably be the MVPs by the end of the year if they can continue to be at every pretty much SmackDown at this point. And yeah, I think overall SmackDown still has, like I said, some holes to fill. There's going to be probably a full hour where they need to kind of work on to get more guys or more girls in there to kind of showcase more talent. But overall, has been an improvement from last year, and I hope it continues going on the upward.
And we're going to end it off on that note. We appreciate you guys for watching. Leave a like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.